if healthcare leaders could take one action today to reduce physician turnover and really strengthen retention and try to find a solution for this issue, what is your key takeaway? What was the one thing that you would recommend they do? Leah, I want to start off with you here.
I'm going to ask a friend. So, Phil uses such an amazing analogy in terms of hospitals and hotels. Phil, do you mind sharing that?
Well, in physician recruiting, we have an old saying which is without physicians, hospitals are simply empty hotels.
I put him on the
And
spot for that, for the record. So remember that, right? But really, what I hear when Phil says that is understanding the value that physicians bring are so critical. Get the education, partner with AMN Healthcare, partner with a firm that's going to provide you with the knowledge of what other systems are doing. It's so difficult to understand what might be happening in the state of New York, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Florida, if you're sitting in Cali, Idaho, Iowa. But it's critical that you understand those items, because when we look at recruiting, or when your physician looks at leaving, they're looking at jobs across the entire US. So get that education, partner up with a firm that can provide you with what's happening in the marketplace, because it's ever changing. What we're sharing with you today, I'm pretty sure with the technology advancement of AI, this can be completely different in 6 months and a year. When I first started recruiting, doing a retention bonus of 150,000 that's paid out at the end of each year, it just wasn't something that was done in the market space. But in today's world, it's something that's become a lot more normal. And so understanding and staying on par with things is the only way that your healthcare organization can stay ahead of the curve. And getting that knowledge from experienced firms such as ours, or ideally ours, but whichever one you decide to partner with, can put you ahead of that and give you the knowledge that you'll need to make those impacts and adequately prepare, so you're not losing those providers and now 5 providers down saying, I need to hire someone tomorrow, right? Adequately succession planning starts with the knowledge of the industry and knowing what you're going into. So get that knowledge. You don't want to pay for the hotel. Let's make sure that you're paying for the hospital.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, what's your key takeaway, your one recommendation?
Similar to what Leah was saying, it is, and at AMN we're self-proclaimed data junkies, right? So it's data and analytics, understanding what's happening in the environment, and then properly capacity planning for what the expectations are. So you have to sort of know your current state and where you're headed. And if you have that schematic and you know it down to the specialty level, you have the ability to plan effectively. And if you're not doing that, if you're not looking at where you need to go and the cost of that turnover into the individual producer, all the way up to the enterprise system, if that's what you are, then you're making a massive mistake. You've got to do the capacity planning to plan in advance for that eventual turnover that's going to occur.
Yeah. Phil, I love the hotel analogy. I think that's fantastic. What's your key takeaway in relation to that, or otherwise?
There's things that you can't control. You can't control the fact that you don't have a beach to offer, or you don't have skiing. But what you can control is the quality of the physician's daily work experience. We call this the primacy of the workshop. They're leaving because something about that is not satisfying to them. So what you can do is create the most physician optimal, friendly work experience that is possible. So it can range from many different things, from as relatively or seemingly minor as accessible parking, to the compensation formula, something about it doesn't seem fair to the physicians, access to the OR, anything that you can do to reduce the bureaucratic burden, those things that separate the patient, the physician from the patient, which is what they really want. That's why they got into medicine, to see patients and treat patients. There's so much that comes between that. Whatever you can do to reduce those barriers so the doctor spends most of his or her time doing what they train to do, what they love to do, that really puts you ahead of the game vis-a-vis, other opportunities where they may be now, or where they may be considering. So if they wake up in the morning eager to go to work because they have a nice work environment and they can practice medicine the way they feel fit, they have some clinical autonomy, vis-a-vis waking up in the morning and they're dragging themselves in. That, to me, that's the whole ball game.
Absolutely. Andrew, your key takeaway here?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a two-step for me is one, I know I've said it, but it's really being present and listening to understand. Part two, the diagnosis, like what is the problem that you need to solve? And I think that can be at an organizational level, it can be down to the individual level and everything in between. And so I think there's an imperative that you just have to understand what is going on in a deep way before you can come up with a strategy on how to solve it. Because it might be a compensation problem or it may be a parking spot problem. And, you may get the same benefit out of both of those options, but you need to understand what are the real concerns before you start coming up with a plan to address it. So listen, diagnose it, respond, and make it your first priority is the physician retention and recruitment.
Yeah, to be future ready, to plan ahead, and then not having to deal with it ultimately. I think that's key.